Hey, World Entertainment and Jurassic World Rebirth 2, or whatever the hell it'll end up being called, has lost its director. And now, this is interesting because the wording is the usual creative differences, all this type of stuff. The article kind of talks about other things that are, quite frankly, a little bit wrong. But this is the biggest update we've actually gotten about this movie in a long time. And it's coming off the back of the director has left. But then we're getting the other information that is like, oh, this thing was meant to start filming and all this type of stuff quite soon and all this. It's like, where were these updates before? How did this only pop up now? So, we'll have a look at this, and there seems to be two different reasons behind why they're kind of making this change. It's weird. So, one is saying creative differences, the other is saying because this movie flopped. And, yeah. So, let's take a look at this. Because, look, there's so many different things to look at when it comes to these particular movies. And the director is only one small element. I think there's so many other questions that need to be asked. So, we'll take a look. So, you can see it loses the director. So, Gareth Edwards is out as director of the Jurassic World Rebirth sequel, exiting the Universal follow-up over creative differences, per The Hollywood Reporter. The exit comes a little over a year after Rebirth hit theaters and finished its run as the lowest grossing movie of the Jurassic World franchise. So, a shake-up behind the scenes shouldn't come as much of a surprise. Now, here's the argument for this. They're saying the shake-up is based on the low grossing numbers, so we need a new director. You kind of have to point your finger and say, well, who's to blame actually for that? Is it the director's fault? Or is it the god-awful story that was written for the movie? Or was it that the previous movie was not received all that well from the audience? Or is it combined with that part that people are just done with Jurassic World? That they're like, look, it's had its time. It doesn't need more. Stop making these movies. Which element is it? Or is it all of them combined? I don't think you can fully put on the whole, it's Gareth Edwards' fault. Is it though? You know, he's working off a script that they couldn't really change. So, and this sounds like the same type of thing is happening. So, you'll see what I mean. So, according to the trade, what the creative differences actually were remains unknown, as Universal is keeping the plot under wraps. The studio moved fast on the sequel and already has a finished script from returning writer David Cope, with Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali and Jonathan Bailey all expected back as schedules get sorted out. Now that's the biggest update we've gotten for this movie in almost a year. That they actually already have a script, and that not just the Scarlett Johansson expected back, but the other two as well, and they're just working out the scheduling right now. So that is incredible that they kept that under wraps. What's also interesting, and this is the first time I'm pretty sure we've heard this, is that David Cope is returning to write the script. Which isn't good news, because the first movie of this was dog shit. And that was his script. And everyone goes, but he wrote the first two original Jurassic Parks. Yeah, he did. And they were great. However, he's lost that touch over the years, clearly. Because my good God, has he written some shit lately. Same with Steven Spielberg directed Jurassic Park and The Lost World. Guess what else he directed? Disclosure Day. So, yeah. It's not exactly a great sign that he's back. So Universal offered a statement, which I think is hilarious because it just says, "We had an incredible experience working with Gareth on Jurassic World Rebirth." Is that it? Is that the entire statement? Cool. So worth noting is THR points out the franchise has a history of chewing up filmmakers, as David Leitch was attached to direct Rebirth at one point before walking over the creative direction. The trade adds that Steven Spielberg and producer Frank Marshall remain the consistents who keep firm control over every one of these movies, with the formula locked in. Dinosaurs loose in the modern world equal parts awe and terror. Translation, whoever signs on next is there to execute Spielberg and Marshall's vision, not their own. Now, that I think is the biggest kind of... Now, you're completely wrong with that, because Spielberg, he was a producer on Jurassic Park 3. He's been nothing but name and name only after that. This dude doesn't care anymore about that. He has no say over Jurassic Park, Jurassic World anymore. He's in name and name only. Do you know what else he's executive producer of and in name and name only? Michael Bay's Transformer movies. So that kind of gives you an indication of how much control he has over these things. None. So them saying they're executing his and Frank Marshall's vision, no, that's BS. You're executing Universal's vision and what Universal wants. So that idea of, oh, well, you don't actually get to be creative or do anything because it's all down to Steven Spielberg. It's not. Spielberg has nothing to do with these movies. So where Edwards lands next is unclear, though Deadline THR floats that the Rogue One and the creator-director could head back to something more of his own making, which, why wouldn't he? The creator didn't do great, but it's actually a good movie. Rogue One, it's the best of the Disney Star Wars movies, let's be honest about that. So, while Universal is happy to tout the $869 million worldwide gross, Jurassic World Rebirth is the first movie of the Jurassic World era to miss the $1 billion mark. And every entry has now grossed less than the one before it. So, you can't blame Gareth Edwards then for this. Like, you're seeing diminishing returns, you can't turn around and go, well, that's the director's fault. So you can see the list here. Jurassic World was 1.67 billion. Fallen Kingdom, 1.31 billion. Dominion, 1 billion. And Rebirth, 869.1 million. So from the first movie all the way back in 2015 to last year's movie, it's been declining in returns. So how do you point the finger and say, well, that's the director's fault? No, that's people are done with the franchise. That is, like, think of it. We're seeing here Dominion, 1 billion compared to these. And that brought back the original cast, as well as the new cast. So, what's your argument there? You'd think bringing back the original cast would have gotten asses into seats, and it somewhat did, but, like, compared to these numbers, it fell well short. So you can see it then just kind of talks about all the bloody stuff. So of all that on a budget reported to be a monument, hang on, the Jurassic World Rebirth budget was 225 million before marketing. Sheesh. Even with marketing, it probably just about broke even. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. If it made a profit, it made a completely minuscule profit. So the audiences didn't exactly love what they got either, as Rebirth earned a B cinema score, the second lowest grade in franchise history, ahead of only Jurassic Park 3's B. Jurassic Park 3 is fucking unwatchable to me. I remember seeing that movie in the cinema, and when it ended and people were all kind of hemming and hawing about it, I remember being asked, like, what do you think of that? I was like, that was dog shit. That was god awful. So, I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes and all this. So, at the end of the day, they're looking for a shake-up for this movie. And the question now is, well, are you looking for a shake-up because you think Gareth Edwards is the fault for not earning $1 billion? Or do you think there is creative differences? Like, maybe they want to do more retarded sources. And maybe he was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. To put it in context, people, this is how bad the storytelling was. This has nothing to do with the director. Do you remember how the whole facility on that island broke down? Can you remember? Do you remember the reviews and all of us talking about this? If you don't, brace yourselves, because the whole chaos that happened in Jurassic World that freed all of the dinosaurs to eat everybody and like shut this island down was a Snickers wrapper stuck in a door. And you're gonna say it's the director's fault? Dude, come on. So they're looking for a new director. They've already got a script, which is news to me. The cast seems to be returning. All the cast, basically. Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and Jonathan Bailey. The biggest question is, does anybody even give a shit? Let me know if you do. And with that, shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, hit that hype button, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.